And welcome back to Life Unrehearsed as we celebrate our 7th anniversary of Life Unrehearsed. Thank you very much for joining me. Boy, time flies. I'll never forget 7 years ago when I nervously auditioned for this show in a cramped little side studio here at CJAD, along with my original co-host. Some of you might remember the name of Stephanie Erickson. Well, Chris Beret, the program director, Ken was just talking about Chris, and Matthew Wood gave us a shot. Well, they liked the concept, but we had to prove we could pull off a show. So boy, oh boy, Stephanie and I had prepped for this show. It was actually a live interview, but wasn't being aired. It was in a studio as if we were live, and we had a lot of preparation. We had our guests. We were all set, and we walked out of that, and boy, we thought we nailed it. We had a review with Matthew a couple days later, and basically what he told me and Stephanie Erickson, not bad. You got the show, but you need a lot of work. It was like, whoa, we thought we did okay. That was a little shot to the ego, but looking back, it actually made a lot of sense. I'm not formally trained in broadcasting, and to their credit, they stuck with us and gave us the training. We even had Robin Flynn. Many of you might remember the name Robin Flynn. She was actually our co-host for the first few weeks to give us a hand at the beginning, and it took a few weeks to get the swing of things, but then we really did get the hang of it, and the rest of it is history 7 years later. Stephanie Erickson left the show after about 6 months due to some personal commitments, and then a name you're probably familiar with, Corey Sirota, joined me as a co-host. She was with me for 5 years, for the next 5 years, and for the past year and a half, I've been flying solo. So it's been 7 years, 335 shows, over 800 interviews later, and I'm still loving it. And many thanks to all of you, our listeners, with their words and your words of encouragement. That's what keeps me going here. And the show is called Life Unrehearsed, and no matter who you talk to, every person, and I'm talking everyone, is going through something. We get thrown curveballs in life, and the show is about acknowledging the challenges we all face in life, but more importantly, how do we cope with them? How do we deal with those challenges? So we've talked about pretty well every subject on this show. You name the challenge people are facing, we've likely addressed it with all those interviews. And we're trying our best to provide some knowledge and comfort, and most importantly, hope for everyone. And that's what Life Unrehearsed is all about. So thank you very much again to all our loyal listeners. I'm proud to say that this is one of the leading English radio shows in Montreal during our time slot in the last 7 years running. Now, it doesn't come without a lot of prep work behind the scenes, and every show actually has about a 4 or 5 page script. Almost every show is done live. I'm not a great big fan of pre-tape shows, so I'd say that about 95% of Life Unrehearsed shows are done live here in the CJD studios. We had a little interruption during pandemic where we had to do it from home studios, and I try to have our upcoming guests booked a good month in advance. Now, there's a fair amount of research, and there's pre-interviews with guests, there's the writing of the script, weekly announcements on social media through the Life Unrehearsed Facebook and Instagram page. And every interview, by the way, gets uploaded onto the CJAD Life Unrehearsed website, as well as my own YouTube channel. So there's over 300 interviews that are available to you on the CJAD Life Unrehearsed website. And that's done intentionally, as well as my own YouTube channel. If there's a subject that you are interested in, something's affected your family, you name the topic, the odds are it's there. So it is all available for you to listen to. And of course, there's the music. Believe it or not, every show has 4 different musical clips. There's one at the very beginning, one coming back from the 4:15 traffic update, one coming back from 4:30 news, and one returning from the 4:45 traffic report. So on Saturday evenings, I usually sit down with my wife around supper time, Stephanie, and we try to find out appropriate songs for our guests. We try to match it up. And I think music is so important for everyone. It was so good listening to Ken Connors in the past interview and how, boy, what he knows about music. But it means a lot to everyone, especially, for so many people going through some difficult times. So I really try to pick the appropriate music for our guests and our topics. Example, on today's show, you might have heard Happy, and that was for Beaver Tales, and you just heard Born to Run. That happens to be one of my personal favorites from Bruce Springsteen. I couldn't believe Ken said as one of his best concerts was Bruce Springsteen, and I understand why. And I also want everyone to understand that it's not a one-man show. There's a whole team behind the scenes, and I'd like to bring in a couple to talk to. And first, I'd like to bring in my wonderful intern. Her name is Dimitra Kritsidimas. Dimitra helps me produce the show, and relatively new, I think, Dimitra, this is show 12 it
13,
is?
maybe?
All right. Well, Dimitra, you are my right arm, and I'm really blessed to have you. You've just jumped into this role and just taking it on and producing fantastic shows and giving me a big hand. First of all, happy Greek Independence Day, Dimitra.
Thank you. And congrats on your anniversary for the show. You're really great.
Thank you, Dimitra. And, let's hear a little bit about you. You're obviously interested in radio and broadcasting and journalism. You're in school now, so where do you go to school?
Yep, so I'm finishing my first year, time really flies, at Concordia, and I'm doing a double major in journalism and economics.
Wow. Okay. So, double major.
Yeah.
And you're helping me produce this show.
Oh, yeah.
So, you've got your studies, you're working hard, and also helping out with this show. And I'll get early morning texts from you or late night texts. I know you're working early and late. And so, can you give our listeners, Dimitra, a little example of, for example, what you would do? What's a week in the life of producing and helping produce Life Unrehearsed?
Yeah. So for our listeners to know, Matt and I have this really amazing Google document with our schedule and all the guests that are going to come on the show. And mine, the people that I take care of, are in bright yellow. So I basically contact them throughout the week, and I'll schedule pre-interviews with the guests. I usually do them Mondays or Thursdays because I'm very specific. And then those pre-interviews are like a 10-minute phone call, and I'll get to speak to the guest, go through the discussion points, go over the logistics, and really just connect before the interview, which is really great. And then I write up the script, and then we have the show on Sundays, and it's so great because we get to see all these incredible people and give them a platform to tell their stories, and it's been really awesome.
And you are awesome too. Really, I want to thank you, Dimitra. You from nothing, you're already a rock star, and I want to thank you for all you do, really. And I'm glad we were able to spend a little time to hear about what you do during the week. We're already running out of time, and I'd be remiss. There's two other important functions to put on a good show. We have a technical producer, and of course there's the news person as well. Usually it's Tom Whalen on Life Unrehearsed. However, Max Cadet, you might have heard his voice doing the news. In fact, Max is doing double duty, wearing two hats this afternoon, doing a technical producer role and news role as well. So on the technical producer, Max, what does that mean?
It's just getting timing, everything right, making sure the music comes in on time for you and everyone listening. Make sure the volume of the mics are all good. Just like I'm looking at right now in the left corner, I see that I'm a bit low, so I'm going to bring myself a bit higher here just so people can hear me a bit better, and just making sure that all the audio is perfect and people can listen to you crisp and clear.
Well, you do a great job doing that, and you're also calling the guests, which is usually 1 or 2 minutes only before we go live, so there's a lot of work behind the scenes. Now you throw in... You're doing news duty today, which is rare, but you're doing double duty. So CJD is known for up-to-the-minute news updates. This is a crucial part of the show, 24/7. And so tell us, wear your news hat here for us, Max. What goes on for the news?
Well, it's really just like you said, looking at last-minute stuff, just making sure what's going on in the city right now. Basically, get maybe a couple international news if necessary, if need be. Just a preview here for the 5 o'clock. Going to talk about the Greek parade that went on. Going to have a clip from CTV's Matt Grillo talking about that. Habs are playing tonight, so get a bit of a preview there as well, and looking as well at the unfortunate scenario that happened in Russia, the mass murder that happened at the concert hall. So going to talk a bit about that and how they've showed up in court this evening in Russia, and talk a bit about that a bit more during the 5 o'clock newscast.
And it is up to the minute. You've got all the news feeds going, so it's comforting from a listener's perspective to know that you're on it, Max. And I also want to personally thank you for everything you've done behind the board. I got to give a shout out to Dario as well, who's 100%. Also on the board as well. And thank you, Max. Dimitra, thank you very much for celebrating the 7th anniversary of Life Unrehearsed, and very grateful for all you do to put on a show week in and week out. And thank you for tuning in to Life Unrehearsed on our 7th anniversary. As a reminder, for all your inquiries or assistance with life transitions, home care, and the senior living industry, it'd be my pleasure to help. You can find out more if you look up Lianas Senior Transition Support. That's Lianas, Lianas Senior Transition Support. Many thanks again to Demetra and Max. You can listen to Life Unrehearsed here on CJD 800 every Sunday at 4 p.m.